Welcome to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Today's topic is something about positivity.
This is fun that we decided to go with this topic because essentially we don't totally agree.
Yeah, so picked up my mug and it says gratitude. So I thought we could talk about gratitude because it's really important. And it didn't feel exciting enough. And then we got talking about positivity. And Trudi said that the topic of positivity can get really into toxic positivity. We have to be happy all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I still think it's a really important topic to talk about. And that maybe because of the whole, we can't talk about positivity because it might be toxic, means that we don't actually talk about what, for me, is just the key to, I don't want to say being happy, but just living a life that is full of joy and that isn't too bogged down in all the stresses and all the just everything that can get too overwhelming in the world.
And that's why we are talking about this. We are talking about this because you are correct. There are things that are really important in this. I shy away because there are a lot of toxic positivity out there. There's a lot of spiritual bypassing is another phrase that I constantly hear. And that's not the work that I want to do or that I want to speak into. So thank you for bringing this to the table. You actually presented it. What if we actually just disagree and don't agree on camera? And I was like, okay, I'm in for this. I'm ready to
That's okay.
into not necessarily always agreeing, but still showing this to our listeners and viewers so that they can have this full flavor of everything that we're bringing to the table. And so thank you for challenging me and pushing me to discussing this. So let's go ahead and dive right on into that.
Yeah. So truthfully, I used to be the person that shied away from any kind of discomfort or pain. So I was that person that was everything has to be positive. Everything's good. Everything's fine. If anyone would ask me, I'd be fine. And there was definitely something behind that was scared of what if it's not fine? Oh, don't want to go there because what if this carefully curated life that I've created falls apart? So if I wouldn't be the one talking about my problems, I wouldn't be showing up in that way because that felt vulnerable and scary. And I wanted to have this mask of like, I'm wonderful. Life is wonderful and things are all going well. And what that did for me in the positive sense was that it meant that a lot of what I saw was the good and the positive because that was my air. My air was things like life is great, life is working for me. I'm choosing to see the good in myself and everyone else. So then I would always see the good. So life most of the time worked out. And what I was missing out on was this being vulnerable, being like fully myself to one, not only be able to share that with other people so they could be there in my pain, share that, and knowing that they don't see me any differently just because, oh, wait, I'm human. And it was like a permission for other people to say, I feel that too. You're not alone. And these are two like beautiful things that you get from sharing like the pain and things that are going on. And it's been really helpful in being a mum is that, oh yeah, my toddler's doing this thing. So's mine. It's not because I'm a terrible mom and I can't control him. It's because he's a 3-year-old boy who wants to be free. So in certain situations, it's going to be more tricky. So it's this balance of life is really good. I'm grateful. I'm seeing the positives. And things are going on for me that if I keep to myself, they can get bigger and bigger and I don't have anyone to share them with.
So many questions popped into my brain as you were sharing it. But the first one that comes to me as you were saying that was, how long ago was this? Was this more recent? Because I think that does matter. And I'm just curious. I'll start there.
Probably around the time I started having life coaching myself, if
Okay.
we're
Okay.
honest. So 5-6 years ago. Yeah.
What were you doing prior to that? Because I think that's another important piece to this. What was it like when you weren't necessarily seeing all the positives?
Life was, for the most part, great. because I was seeing the positives. And as I said, there was times where I had 4 jobs and I was able to enjoy it because I wasn't letting the weight of it or the busyness or whatever weigh me down. And I think it was fine. And without knowing, I probably missed out on the richness of that connection that you have with people when you're sharing what isn't going so well.
Okay. Like the depth was missing. So that makes sense to me.
And it was this depth that I would never have believed was a positive. So it was like, why would I talk about that? Why would, I mean, there probably was a why would I have anybody see me as anything other than have it all together at all times? But yeah, to me, there was no positives in sharing negatives.
That's fair. Okay. So it's almost taking a different route than initially what I thought the conversation was going to be. What you're talking about and seeing the positive is more seeing both, not even both, it's seeing all aspects of like emotions and feelings. And so what you're naming as being positive isn't necessarily positive per se. It's like seeing that it's just not one flavor. It's not just put together is the fruit that you had used. So it's not just put together. It's there's more parts to all of the feelings versus just I'm gonna put it in this box, and you're only gonna see the box in the sense of me put together, and you're not gonna see that. Where it's like vulnerability is something that is beautiful and isn't perceived as being a positive, and it is a positive. Am I kind of hitting the conversation? Are we on the same page now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can go anywhere.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
free on this one. We're not bound by a title.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but yeah, and what was coming to mind was, so with my life coaching, I would share posts about what was going on for me, and people would always reach out and say, "This really resonated with me today because I was going through the same thing."
Mhm.
And it's that shared being in it together. And then what also came up was then people would also want to be, oh, I feel so sorry for you or try and fix you. And that is what I hated. And that's what I was trying to protect myself from. People feeling like I needed help and I needed fixing.
Mhm.
And then the more I grew, it's like, actually, they can think that or offer that, and I don't have to take that on.
Love that. Yeah, it's interesting because I work more with the modality of energy. So, like, instead of calling it energy, it's levels of consciousness to people. And there's heavier consciousness, and then there's lighter consciousness. And all of it exists. So, I've been working with a client, and she had reside heavily in the heavier ones, where just very much in this people pleasing, this victim mindset, and so forth. And there's been this beautiful, slow, gradual shift in her energy. And now she's getting into the creative, she's getting into having boundaries and releasing expectations. And so I shy away personally from the positive conversation because if I would have stuck with her and said, "Be positive," and so forth, because actually, honestly, her and I did a gratitude at one point, but that was to help introduce the different energy so that she could actually start to embody it. So it is all interconnected, but it's just interesting because I view things as shifting through the heavier stuff that's keeping us held back rather than calling it positive and negative. So that's just in all truth, where I sit in this conversation.
Yeah. And I love two things you said. There's shifting through,
Mhm.
and I forgot the other one, so it might come back. But yeah, there's shifting through it. So it's not about the positivity mask of, I'm going to ignore all this shit because I can't deal with it. It's too scary. I'm going to lock it away because
Right.
that doesn't work and it's going to come out anyway.
Mhm.
It's about the going through it, being with it, not ignoring it, and knowing that you'll be completely okay in the end.
Yes. And I think the first part is where most people get stuck. At least for me, that's I myself included. I'm not even calling anybody else out. We get stuck in that space of just working through it. And so that is where that toxic positivity for me personally lands is, oh, just be positive, it'll get better. And it's like you're almost like forcing it to happen. And it's not honoring, I guess, all of the different emotions that come through. Like when you're talking about you were posting and you were being vulnerable and people were able to lean in and be like, that's me too. When we're judging it, we can't see the vulnerability of this beautiful expression of who we are. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I I love positivity.
Okay.
And it's I mean, I think it's something that has made me who I am. The fact that I my brain does always go to the positive. And I think that is why I I can enjoy most situations that I'm in, and I can bring joy to a lot of people. And if people need a bit of a pick me up or need to feel better, they'll they'll want to hang out with me, or they'll call me, and I just need a bit of Claire's energy. And there's a thing, whether it's like gratitude or it's like seeing the positives, that I just think is really important for people to embrace. And it's the what you're looking for, you'll find kind of mentality that we've talked about. So it's choosing into there's loads of negativity in the world and there's loads of positivity, and I get a choice in what I see. So waking up in the morning and writing down the 5 things I'm grateful for, it's just going to help me start the day in that positive way.
Is that something you actually do?
No.
Okay. I'm asking because I was like, no wonder you go, because my brain does not work that way. I'm just gonna call myself out.
Mhm.
I have a harder time. I have to shift myself because I instantly go to doom is kind of one way I'm going to phrase it. My brain goes to the worst possible thing. So AKA fear. But when you were sharing, I was like, that is fascinating that you always go to this beautiful picturesque of the world. What have you done to have your brain go that way? Because my brain does not go that way. And I'm like, if my brain could go the way yours does, I think life would be a lot easier.
Mhm. So on the question of do I do the gratitude, and it's a no, because my brain naturally goes there. So
Okay. Okay.
I will give my clients that exercise because I think it's really important. And I want to say I'm the lucky one that actually I've done the work of training my brain to see the positives. Part of it's natural. I think I grew up in a family that was very loving, and we got taught to help people. And I've always felt uncomfortable with negativity. Like I just err to the side of positivity. It's what makes me feel good. And I think I noticed from a young age that I can lean into seeing the negative or I can lean into seeing the positive, and I knew which one felt better. And I think it's because I am a really feeling person. I grew up with loads of emotions, which I didn't know what to do with. And being with the loads of good emotions felt better than being with the loads of bad emotions.
For me, this is where I struggle, and maybe you're able to give me an answer that will help with this. But I see positive and negative, and it's interesting because I'll give an example. So I have had a lot of grief in my life, and my grief has been my experience and just what's encountered in my life. And I've had people comment on how my grief is negative, and that doesn't sit well with me. So, going back to where I was starting is there's this positive and negative. Like, what makes something negative? Like, you were talking about a negative feeling and you didn't like that. Like, what does that mean to you? Because in my brain, I hear it as judgment. Like your positive and negative not might not be my positive and negative because when people have called my grief negative, it's been very offensive to me. And then I've heard their stance and okay, I get what you're saying, but I still don't see my own grief as negative because it was my experience and I find that offensive. So back to the question, what
Mhm.
are you saying as negative?
So this is an early memory, and it was we were in the playground at school, and somebody had told my mum that it was someone's birthday. So then she went up to them and said, "Happy birthday." And it wasn't their birthday. So it was an innocent prank. And that just felt horrible to me. I mean, no one was harmed in this story. Um,
Right.
and I didn't like it. And I
What
don't know if
was
it's the question, but that's just what popped up.
No, I know. So what specifically about her saying that? Was it because it was perceived as I know it's a prank, so I'm gonna use stronger language, but was it perceived because it was a lie? Is like that what was going on
I'm
in the
being tricked.
tricked? Okay.
Yeah. Didn't
Okay.
like it.
That no, and that's fair. So this is at a young age, you didn't enjoy the trick of it, and that's what's perceived as negative?
Yeah. I like a world where everybody gets on, everybody's nice to each other. So you don't have to like everyone, but it's that if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything. I think
Right.
that was like a big motto of mine growing up.
Okay.
And I just think the world would be a lot better place if everyone's nice to each other. So that's my version of positive is
Okay.
towards other people.
See, and what's interesting here, just gonna nitpick because I can't help myself, is it's interesting because, like, I hear you on the nice, and a lot of people do this, but there is a difference between nice and kind. And that's where that very quick shifts in from like that positive to toxic positivity for me. Same thing with like nice versus kind. So, anyways, I just had to say it because that's who I am.
Yeah, yeah. And that's like it's about intentions, isn't it? And what's in your heart.
Yes. Yes. So,
And
I
then
mean, I think part of the reason I was open to having this conversation is back to the word intention was I understood your intention wasn't to talk about positivity in the toxic positivity way. So intention is like the crux of it. At least it is for me.
yeah, and that's takes us nicely to the gratitude practice. This practice of filling up your heart with love for yourself and those around you.
Mhm.
And I think that can only be a good thing.
Absolutely. That client that I was talking about, she was heavy into a lot of different emotions and she couldn't get out of it. She was very stuck in that place. And so she needed to shift and she wasn't shifting. And I introduced gratitude. And it was this slow burn of her starting to have these gratitudes, not for me, but for herself. And she had to start somewhere. So I don't think gratitude's a bad thing, but it can creep over into the other space. But she was in a place where I noticed that when she could bring in the gratitude into her life, and I know you talked about your clients, you love starting them with gratitude as well, but I did start to see a shift. She wasn't hanging out in those heavy energies anymore because she was able to see the good that was going on in life. And sometimes what we well, all the time, when we focus on more of what we want versus less of what we don't want, we start to see more of what we do want. And so that's where gratitude can be a very essential asset to someone. So it was a slow shift, but it was a shift in her energy.
Yeah, and energy, that was the other thing that you'd said before that sparked something. It's about the energy that you're surrounding yourself and that's within you.
Yes.
Because the more negative energy you're allowing to come in, the more negative you're going to feel. And the same with the positive. So it's not about ignoring all the sadness and ignoring what's going on for you. It's about building yourself up to know you're strong, to know you can handle what comes, to know that there's a lot of good in the world, because sometimes we just need to remind ourselves of that. And then you're just much more stronger and ready to take on what comes.
It starts with you. And a lot of times it's hard to necessarily see it starting within. And so it is easier to see the things out there versus the internal things that are happening. But the the good and the positive is coming from within. And if we can, so maybe instead of saying strong, like you are more powerful than you know. And so when you can start shifting into that is really a amazing space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else that we haven't touched that we need to make sure that we address in this episode?
Yeah, I think the one thing that came to mind was this phrase of, well, someone has it worse,
Yes,
which,
yes,
which
yes.
I'm guessing you hate.
I hate it. Go with what you're about to
Um,
say.
yeah, so something happens to you, and then people say, oh, well, there's people starving in Africa. It's not a big deal. And actually, in that moment, you just want to grieve or feel sad about whatever it is. So I went to traveling for 6 months with Andy, and we were staying at this hostel, and I'd had a bra and some new travel trousers. Nothing expensive, but stuff that I needed. And it was in a bag, and I'd left it outside of our room, and we'd left. And I spoke to this guy, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm coming to the next place. I'll pick it up for you." I was like, "Perfect. Don't need to do anything else about it." He's going to grab it and he's going to bring it to the next place. And then I messaged him the next day and I said, "Hey, we're here. Shall I meet you and come get it?" He's like, "Oh, sorry. I went to get it the next day and it had gone." And I was just really annoyed, and heartbroken's a bit excessive, but it just felt sad because like, I can't just go out and buy a bra. And it was like a really comfy one. And I bought these travel pants that probably cost me about £2, but I loved them and they were really fun. And he told me he was going to do something and he didn't. And someone had said, well, you can just replace them. It doesn't matter. And actually, I didn't want that. So I just went off to the rooftop and I cried because it was sad. It was stuff that I wanted in that moment and I didn't have it. And yes, even looking back now, it was only stuff. Have I missed those things? No. Was I on this amazing trip? Yes. And in that moment, I felt sad and I wanted to be allowed to be sad.
Mhm.
But when I guess toxic positivity comes in, is that, well, people are worse off. How can you be sad when you have all these other clothes and you're on this amazing trip and blah, 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 which is all true. And I know that. And the next day I was okay and I didn't give it another thought. And in that moment, I just wanted to feel sad and sad that somebody had said they'd do something and they didn't. And that was okay.
I'm gonna share another example as well because it came up as you were speaking, and I think knowing that I've had a lot of grief in my life, and so I've lost my entire family, and it's just that's what it is. So when people make these statements of, "It can be worse," I don't know. This is pretty bad, is what I wanna is the acknowledgement, and kinda going back to what you were saying is, one of the things I do tell anybody who's going through grief, or if I'm sitting with them, is I acknowledge it and I say, "This sucks." And as simple as that, that's me not bypassing, that's me just declaring what is true for you, is that this sucks. And so for you to be able to go and cry and that it did suck in that moment. It was something there's so many things in there in the sense of he said he would do something, he didn't. There's that piece. There's many things. And just to be, oh, you can go buy another one is just bypassing the fact that you have an emotion about what occurred. And I think that is where I struggle in general with the whole be positive and where I go to that toxic positivity really quick is that not in, not allowing people to have those emotions. So
Yes.
awesome. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
And then, um, I guess after that, I could have gone two ways. I could have been, you can't trust anyone. I'm never going to ask anyone to do anything for me again. Um,
Right.
people are annoying and things just go missing. I could have gone down that route. I mean, talking about my personality, it would be very hard for me to go down that route. But that's the where people go. These little things happen and you keep hold of them and they build up this picture of the world that's sad and we're alone and people aren't very nice. And then that is what you experience. So it's the not skating over things that go wrong and not holding onto them so they become your reality. And that's
Well,
where positivity comes into its own. It's that let's let's see that for what it was, a sad moment, acknowledge it, be in it, and continue seeing the world in the beautiful, positive way that it can be.
so taking your phrase and my phrase and blending them together, it's where that shift portion comes in. Is like giving yourself the space to have those moments and then go through the moments so you can shift to a different moment. But a lot of times we skip the feel and be in that moment to begin with because honestly, people get uncomfortable and we don't allow that to happen or those
Yeah.
moments for us to go
It's
through.
the letting people go through it as well,
Right.
regardless of how uncomfortable we are. Like,
Correct.
"Ooh, your grief makes me uncomfortable. I'm gonna say something to make you feel better so then no one has to be sad."
Right. And those
And
platitudes come in, all of the
yeah.
things.
And actually, what the person needs from you at the time is to acknowledge and be with you in your sadness and know you don't need to fix it.
Yeah.
And then be with them to help them see the good when they're ready.
Yes.
And that's not yours to decide.
Cool. I think we did a really good job of explaining what we wanted to on this episode. No, in all honesty, I think it's been really helpful.
Mm.
Is there anything else that needs to be discussed for this topic today? I feel we've covered
I
it. But
Yeah, I would just end on a with the exercise of gratitude
mhm.
is a really good exercise. So if you're feeling a bit stuck and a bit the world is against me, the world's a terrible place, just a really simple thing you can do. Even if you start with three, wake up in the morning and write three things you're grateful for. And it can be really simple. So an example could be I have a roof over my head, or I have a friend who loves me. Like the small things. And
I
then
woke up this morning.
I
Can be
woke up
one
this
is
morning. Yeah.
it really can be simple. It is retraining the brain to start to see those things. And when we're very focused on not seeing those things, it can be really challenging to start off. So I woke up this morning or I have a roof over my head are great places to start.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay, positivity.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Where we talked about all things positive.